I was in the middle of poverty. I grew up on the side of a mountain with dirt floors. A dad that was a coal miner who was blind, and the state of West Virginia gave us $110 a month for all of us to live, 6 of us. I started going out at 12 and 14 years old making money feeding the family. And when I ran into pool, I kind of got smitten by it. I was a natural at it, and I've played pool and run 150 balls easy. And I won 9 and 10 straight games of one pocket without my opponent getting out of his chair. And if I couldn't beat them at pool and they were a little more skilled than me, I could out-gamble them. Be honest with you, I raised 4 kids, and for 5 years I wired money home from the road. And what did I do out on the road? Orneriness. I was married out on the road playing with women. You know, I mean, it was going to bars, hustling. It was just hustle, hustle, hustle.
We're on our way to Huntington, West Virginia to see his brother to borrow money. I'm 5 years old. Car breaks down on 64, somewhere between Charleston and Huntington. The guy pulls over and says, hey, let me take you up to the next place. There's a Exxon up there. So we go up there, Dad talks to the guy, and the guy loans him a set of jumper cables. And the guy does a big U-turn, goes all the way back around again, brings us back to the car. And guy jumps the car off, it starts up. Dad puts cables in the trunk, thanks to the guy, and he drives away. So we start driving down the interstate, and I said, Dad, that guy was pretty nice at the gas station to loan you his jumper cables. Dad said, yes, he was. He said, you know, usually they make you leave a deposit or a driver's license or something for your jumper cables. And we passed the exit, and I looked over at my dad, and he goes, he won't make that mistake again. I thought, oh my goodness, whose kid am I?
And my granddad will tell you, he tells this to everyone too as well. He said, my dad has always been the best at a conference table. If you get him in an office setting with business, hands down, there's no one else I know or he knows that knows how to negotiate and motivate and train and do that kind of stuff. My grandpa, he said, is he perfect at the kitchen table. In home, communicating with people, telling stories. There's no one better that my dad or myself know that can do that aspect of it.
There's no way mentioning my dad and you can't say he's a storyteller. He loves to tell a good story. Sometimes it's humorous, sometimes it's jokes, but he's just been a big storyteller all of his life, and people recognize that for sure. The story about my dad that probably means the most, and it probably affects everything we're talking about here the most, is horrible family. 4 of us kids before my mom was 20 years old. They got along like the worst 2 people in the whole world. They fought like War of the Roses every day. It split up every 90 days for a month or 2, and this went on all the time I was a kid. We were living in Charleston, and he moved to Huntington, and I was in 2nd grade, and it was the big split. He was gone a long time. Came back a couple times, brought us gifts. Mom would sit on the porch and just cuss him out, telling him we ain't got food and you're coming around here like some big shot in your big fancy LTD and your Agner jackets and thinking you're hot stuff and your kids aren't even eating. And us kids were just glad to see our dad, you know? And so eventually we moved 3 times that summer. Mom couldn't afford, it was trailer to trailer to trailer. We ended up in Rand, West Virginia, which is a town where Randy Moss is from, on the outskirts of Charleston. And we're in this little trailer park and there's 3 families in the trailer. Mom, us 4 kids, and 2 other families. School starts. They don't even start us in school. Me and Tammy would stand there and watch all the kids get on the bus and be like, are they gonna enroll us in school? And we didn't know where we were living. October, November rolls around. We're just playing all day long, and I guess that was it for us. One morning, Tammy wakes me up and she goes, hey, wake up. I said, what? She said, Dad's car's here. And I was like, whoa, you know, I look out there, it's like 1st of December. I would have been in 3rd grade. And we look out there, his car's there, and I go over and he's on the front couch in the trailer. And everybody starts waking up and we're looking around and Mom's over here and he's there and they're not fighting. They're talking civil, you know? So his kids are like, hey, things, well, what's going on? You know what I mean? They're talking like two people. And he gets a phone book out and he says, come with me. And I jump in his LTD, we go up the thing and he gets a U-Haul. And he comes back, puts it on the bumper hitch. We load up. It was December 12th, I think, 1971. We load the back of the U-Haul up. We all four get in. Peace out, West Virginia. We moved to Virginia that day. I think now about what kind of a man would have to go back into, you know, a situation with his kids where poverty, the worst kind, a marriage that wasn't working, had it all in Huntington. You know, he had a nice house, a nice job and all that. And I know that he's told me many times he couldn't take, you know, the thought of seeing his children in that, you know, that state. So I guess when you look at me and Tammy and Robin and Vicky, you'd have to say, where would we be if we, you know, life does take some weird turns, but our dad chose, you know, to come get us and pick us up and say, I'm gonna go take them and provide a better life for them instead of doing my thing and hanging out and chasing girls and forgetting about my family. So for that, I think I'm always will be indebted, and I think it's a good trait that he didn't turn his back on his family.
Old man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you.
I'm watching a football game on a Saturday, and we're living over in Pembroke Manor. And watch the football game, this woman comes knocking on my door, and she said, Mr. Augustine, your son's out here at the pool playing, and he's been bullying everybody out here forever. She said, my son, I've been sending him to school, and he's been taking karate lessons, and I'm tired of the bullying. And I thought I'd let you know, I'm gonna turn my son loose on him. Eddie's 12, 13 years old. I go out there and I walk over to Eddie and I said, Eddie, this woman wants to let her boy fight you. I said, how do you feel about that? He said, oh, Dad, let me go. Let me have him. I said, are you sure? He said, oh, yeah, piece of cake. And this kid tells Eddie, he said, before the fight gets started, he said, I want to tell you something. I've been taking karate lessons for the last 2 years, and I'm gonna whip your ass. Eddie said, I don't care what you've been doing. He said, I'm gonna whip your ass before they get here. He's thinking somebody's bringing some karate guy in. And Eddie tells him, I'm gonna whip you before he gets here. I thought, oh, what a mindset. I was sitting there thinking to myself, he's already whipped this guy in his mind.
One of the differences between the two of us is he's very, I'm not gonna say OCD, but very organized. You look at his desk, there isn't a thing out of place. There's no scrap piece of paper that doesn't need to be there. He's got everything on his calendar, color coordinated, and I am the exact opposite. I've got sticky notes of things that end up on the ground of meetings, and I'm kind of disheveled and unorganized, and so those are two of the big differences between us.
The largest giver I've known in my life. And that includes giving anything. I think it has a whole lot to do with his business. I think it has a lot to do with his success. I think that God rewards him for that.
And I say the other last word I would use to describe my dad is gracious. So seeing him in this business surrounded by people that work for him and family members, he really sees the value invested in people. So he does everything he possibly can of getting people houses, helping them pay rent, having to pay bills for them, getting cars. I mean, just doing a ton of different things. Some people get vehicles to get to work and stuff like that, that most people wouldn't do or wouldn't have any interest in doing whatsoever.
I've had my license 3 different times. I couldn't do what he done. 3 different times I shut down, paid everybody off, got out clean, but couldn't do what he done. It ain't easy. And this boy, when you get 50 people willing to follow you, and 200 or 300 employees, you're doing something right.
Take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true.
I see things in my dad that I definitely see in my son. One is they both are fascinated with clothing and getting dressed and looking good and matching their outfits up, and it's like they've got this little link that they can stand in the mirror for hours and get ready in the morning, and they're both just into that, and they're in the stitch, is what I like to say. The other is the carefree side. You know, I'm kind of in the middle where I'm not as carefree, I'm more uptight. Both of them are just so carefree. It's just, I'd give anything to live that peaceful where they just, you know, you want to know which way they go, put them in the wind and see where they blow. Tyler is probably the most loyal human being I've ever met on earth. His mother is a very loyal person. When he makes his mind up to stick to something, he's extremely, extremely loyal. Another thing about him is he's a very peaceful person, and the word I would use is unobtrusive. He just doesn't squash on people's feelings. He doesn't upset anybody. He's the kind of person when he walks into a room, however long he's there, he leaves it. Everybody's happier when he left the room than they was before he got there. His phone rings all the time. People ask him to do things. He's the kind of person people want to be around, and he listens very well. And I would say considerate, extremely considerate. Considerate, dedicated, loyal. Those would be good words.
When it comes in most businesses and in some things in life too, it's not going to be instant gratification, and if you think it is, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Dedication and perseverance are two really huge important things that if you can understand and know ahead of time, hey, this isn't going to come in 6 months or a year, this is going to be a 5, 10, 15-year thing, you've got to consistently do every single day and commit your life to doing it. Ultimately, at the end, you'll come out very much ahead of everyone else who is not doing that. Think more long-term rather than short-term as well.
When I think about my son and him being in the industry, home improvements, I view my son as what I always wished I was. I think if I close my eyes and dream of what I wished I was, dedicated, in shape, works out, you know, everything that I wished I was, I see in my son. Now, I don't think he's going to be at Augustine. He's not going to be that, you know, crazy, whacked out guy who went and started a company from scratch. But for all of my employees, he will be a much better, polished, well-rounded, less emotional CEO to build this company and take it to another level. I was the guy to get it off the ground, but there'll be other people like him specifically that'll take this company to a level because of the professionalism, the intelligence, the education, the other things that he has that I do not have.
And people have asked me this before, hey, you know, how does it feel living in like a shadow of someone that's so grand? But I think of it as actually as something to strive to and look to, because I know it can be done. I know how hard it is and what it would take. And as long as I can try and be, you know, half of what he's done, I'd be grateful for that.
I'm not my dad. I'm not sure my dad could have ever started Paramount and got it to where it's at today. He was a different guy. He got in the business. And I'm not sure Tyler's me. He's not going to be me. But each version we get a little better, and Tyler's a completely better version than me or my dad ever were. And we're really excited to see where this thing goes.